Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Woodrow Thompson. We have a great show for you today. My guest today is an ordained minister with the Baptists of Ontario and Quebec, and he's currently serving as senior pastor of the First Baptist Church in Toronto. He's a volunteer chaplain with the Toronto Police Services, and he's also a board member for Mission GTA. My guest today is none other than Pastor Wendell Gibbs. Good to have you with us today.
Well, thank you very much. Good to be here as well.
It's been a while since I saw you.
It's been a while.
But it's good to see you.
Well, we're about the Father's business, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
4 years in seminary. It's been quite a
journey.
Time. Yes.
Quite a journey.
But good to have you.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into talking more about the ministry you're involved in and what's happening with you, you immigrated from Trinidad and Tobago in the 70s.
Yes.
What has that journey been like for those years?
1974.
Wow.
It's almost forgotten at our age.
Right.
But it was quite a drastic change.
Right.
Coming into a foreign land as Canada. But it was also a dream that we had hoped for, that we were in a better place for better opportunities. So for me, it was a great experience, and I certainly very happy being a Canadian since that time.
So now you're serving as a senior pastor at First Baptist Church in Toronto.
Yes.
And before that, you served at Erin Park in Scarborough. How did Erin Park prepare you for where you are now?
Erin Park Baptist Church is where I evolved into more or less full-time pastoring. I was in marketing and sales in the secular world for many, many years, went to school and became an engineer technologist.
Right.
But slowly evolved into ministry since I was transformed in 1983 at a men's breakfast. Okay. And ever since then, I had this passion to serve and to embrace people from all walks of life, to learn about the gospel. So that evolved until I became a pastor at Erin Park. I was actually Promise Keepers ambassador, I was a youth leader, and I was a deacon. But Erin Park shaped me in many ways to understand the other side of ministry, where pastoring isn't what it's perceived to be on the congregational side, but the responsibilities and the planning and the praying and the preparations of serving brought a whole different context to how we can really impact our city and our world for the most part in terms of the gospel. Right.
Now, I realize that First Baptist has been around from the 1800s.
Oh my goodness.
That's a long time.
Yes.
Is that why they call it First Baptist?
Well, typically every city has a first.
Right.
So it so happened that in 1826, the underground slaves that came across to Canada for freedom, the 12 runaway slaves established the ministry, and Christian Washington, being the founder, established the Baptist Church, and there was no first then, so he made it become the First Baptist Church.
So, because the church has been around for such a long time, this is the 21st century, what are some of the challenges you face as the pastor of that church?
Well, you can only imagine. We challenge always in ministry, as you know. We always challenge the traditions and the cultures, the religions, the generations. There is always that divide between the old and the new, the contemporary and the traditional. So we face that as well. Our biggest challenge is not outside. Our biggest challenge really is inside, trying to understand context of ministry today that has to be relevant as opposed to the way it was in the past. I always say the most famous words that most older churches would be familiar with is, "We have never done it this way before." So we are very familiar with that, but we have transitioned. We have transformed ourselves to understand that the gospel remains truthful, but the methods and the approach relevant to the culture you're living in definitely has to change, and we are evolving and slowly transforming towards that change as we speak now.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Now, I also realized that you're also a chaplain for the police services, and we'd like to talk more about that, but we'll talk about that when we return from this break.
Sure. When I went to Africa, they called me Abouini. And Abouini in Ghana is a white man.
Okay.
Go figure. It was a shock to my system. So now I can brag about having a diverse opportunity to engage in different communities.
Your wedding day will be one of the most important days in your life, and we want to make sure that you never forget it. Hello and welcome to Runway Weddings. At Runway Weddings, creating is our passion, and we would love to capture your unique day so you can look back years from now and enjoy it all over again. We are proud of our team of photographers and cinematographers, all of whom have the expertise to create high-energy still and motion pictures that tell a story from beginning to end, based on the love story that has been created by the two of you. With our superior collection of cinematic 4K cameras, movie quality sound, and visual equipment, we are ready to capture your wedding day from every angle to create an artistic blend of photographic, cinematic, and documentary style film that reflects the intimacy of your special day. For more information or to obtain a quote for your big day, call right now 647-933-8068 or go to the website www.runwayweddings.ca and we will schedule a free consultation. We take the time to get to know you so that we can create an experience of photography and cinematography that you will never forget. Call us now.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. My guest today is Pastor Wendell Gibbs, pastor of First Baptist Church. But just before the break, we talk about being a police chaplain. What is involved in being a police chaplain?
Police chaplaincy really is to become a spiritual support to the officers in their duties. So all the stations across the city of Toronto and some other regions as well, what the chief has introduced a number of years ago is to allow a volunteer chaplain to serve in each station across the city. I serve at 55 Division down at the beaches, and I also help serve at 52 Division, which is at University in Dundas, because that's where our church is. And what we do rarely is by visiting a few hours a month here and there and supporting what's going on. We have uniforms that we can participate in the parades, we can go on ride-alongs. And what we do rarely is just to encourage our officers to support them with their own tragedies of experiences, which most citizens aren't familiar with, that police officers are human and they do have emotions. Right. So they go through quite a lot and internalize so much that they need some kind of spiritual support. I'm really amazed at just our presence alone as a spiritual entity makes such a difference in the lives of people, not just policing, but just on the streets in general. Even though there is this huge concern for the value of spirituality, the value of church, yet there is a respect for wholesome spirituality in the lives of people across the nation, across the world, and I see it in the city as well, when there is at least a voice of encouragement, a voice of hope in the midst of all that's going on. And it's encouraging. It's encouraging to know that we are respected in light of that against all the odds that are against us today.
So you get to see firsthand some of the things that are happening, especially between Black Lives Matter and all the different things with the ethnic diversity. What are some of the insights that you
Most definitely. I always say to people, I get to see on the inside as well as participate on the outside. The perceptions and the media thwarts our thinking and our understanding of what reality is. I will not deny, and for my own self as being half black, by the way, I found out about this when I went to Africa, because I grew up as a black man all of my life, but my grandfather is a white Englishman, and my grandmother is Indian. So I'm actually 50% black, 25% white, 25% Indian. But sure enough, my whole life until I was in my 40s, I found out when I went to Africa, they called me Aborini.
Oh.
And Aborini in Ghana is a white man.
Okay.
Go figure. It was a shock to my system. Right. So now I can brag about having a diverse opportunity to engage in different communities. Having said so, Black Lives Matter, and on the inside is a reality. Right. Police brutality is a reality. However, what's painted in the public arena is an imbalance to a voice of responsibility, not just on the policing side, but on the black side. We have negated our responsibility for raising wholesome children. Right. Young men who are responsible with their with their morality, I should say. So what we do is we excuse slavery, we excuse blackness, we excuse all the things when we should also hold ourselves accountable. Yes, there is brutality, and yes, there is racism, absolutely. All right, but if in the 60s someone died to emancipate us, if in 1836 we died in slavery through the passageway to the Americas to give us our freedom. If all of that took place, then why are we back here still making excuses? My point is this, is that I've taught my kids, and I'm teaching young boys today as well, get the education so we can sit at the table of decisions. Right. Because protesting doesn't bring about results. It just brings about arguments and judgment and hate. We are not represented at a high level to help make those decisions. Because our politicians are not sitting, and our officers are not sitting in those homes, in those regions where we know there is challenges. Right. So I say for the policing, going back to the policing services, I encourage the officers to always walk with integrity and uphold the law to protect and to serve in a good, full way. And for those who are marginalized, those who are bad, which is a small percentage that gives a percentage for everyone else, I put it this way. You and I are a pastor. Right. Well, we probably could name a few right now who we would say are on the marginal line, right? Because there are bad pastors, as well as there are good pastors. But we far outnumber the bad. So policing, I'm privileged for the opportunity to bridge that gap between our faith community, our citizenship, of an understanding, and bring it to our police officers to speak on our behalf as well as, but also to encourage them as humans that they should do a good work of protecting.
Very good. So we're going to go to a break, but when we come back from that break, I'd like for you to talk about how the church can help in these issues that we see within our communities. What is the church's responsibility? Yeah. We'll talk about that when we come back from this break. Thank you.
I have to show that hope in the evidence of my life that is successful in the midst of the storm and the suffering and the violence and the evil, and my neighbors are hurting and my young boys are hurting each other. In the midst of all of that, how do I bring peace and hope in that journal conversation, in the way I model my life?
TV programs, convocations, conventions, graduations, YouTube commercials. Pinewood Films is a locally owned production company based in Toronto, and we're here to help you capture your event on video. It could be a Saturday or Sunday morning church service, a banquet, a business function, birthday party, even that special wedding day. Absolutely no project is too small or too large. We record and edit all of our footage professionally with high-quality HD and 4K cameras that can be used for TV broadcasting or just home viewing. The choice is all up to you. So, what are you waiting for? Call us right now at 647-933-8068, and there's no obligation. Let's talk about your ideas for your next event or project. The number is on the screen. We're waiting for your call.
Your wedding day will be one of the most important days in your life, and we want to make sure that you never forget it. Hello, and welcome to Runway Weddings. At Runway Weddings, creating is our passion, and we would love to capture your unique day so you can look back years from now and enjoy it all over again. We are proud of our team of photographers and cinematographers, all of whom have the expertise to create high-energy still and motion pictures that tell a story from beginning to end, based on the love story that has been created by the two of you. With our superior collection of cinematic 4K cameras, movie quality sound, and visual equipment, we are ready to capture your wedding day from every angle to create an artistic blend of photographic, cinematic, and documentary style film that reflects the intimacy of your special day. For more information or to obtain a quote for your big day, call right now 647-933-8068 or go to the website www.runwayweddings.ca and we will schedule a free consultation. We take the time to get to know you so that we can create an experience of photography and cinematography that you will never forget. Call us now.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. And again, my guest is Wendell Gibbs, senior pastor of the First Baptist Church in Toronto. And just before the break, we're talking about the challenges between police officers and the black community. And my question to you is, what can the faith community do to help resolve some of these issues? What's our responsibility?
That's a big question.
Right.
We've been talking about this since the beginning of Jesus' ministry 2,000 years ago.
Right.
And you have to wonder, is the church having any effect when you see the plight of our suffering and violence and crime that's going on? So we have to kind of divide the church. When we talk about the church, we talk about the man-made church versus
Right.
the God-made church.
Right.
I think the man-made church is missing the point of being the gospel to the community. We ourselves have become judgmental and pushed
Right.
away society in general because we have raised standards that even ourselves can't meet. Mm-hmm. So I think for us to make an impression, we have to level the playing field and demonstrate that we all make mistakes.
Right.
And that we're all on this journey together. In our church in particular, we have those conversations even on a Sunday morning service. So we can approach the topic and bring the emotions out and talk
Right.
about our experiences and allow young people to vent if they need to, but then bring back a balanced perspective. And what does the gospel say? What does Jesus say in the middle of all this violence and hate and judgment of our races? What does Jesus have to say? Because he himself was also judged.
Right.
He himself was also racially profiled, if you want to call it that. He came to his own, and his own received him not. But to as many as received him, to them became the sons
Right.
of God. The word tells us that.
Right.
And Christ defied all odds against his own community and went to a cross. What price are we willing to pay for our next generation, like a Martin King Luther Jr., who paid the price so we can talk freely today, even
Right.
in spite of our skin color?
Right.
So I think the church needs to just recognize that we need to help have conversations and not just preach a gospel far removed from what the relevance of our society is, but bring those topics in, because racism is real today.
Right.
Violence is real today. Guns are real today. I have moms and dads who comes to me on a regular basis. What do I do, Pastor? Because my son may have a gun, or my son is caught up in this. And here's the challenge. The parents themselves deny challenging their own children.
But do you think it's because we may not understand the issues?
I think it's because we don't understand the issues, but I think the strength of society, I believe, is the strength of families.
Right, I agree.
I am a product of a single parent home.
Right.
Guess who the single parent was?
Your mom.
Well, it's a common theme that plagues our society, that plagues our community, I should say. We have to be honest about that conversation. We got to challenge men. And I'm right now working with the police services, but also with a wonderful organization called Jesus in the City Parade,
Right.
and with Transformation Canada. We are trying to embroach on this idea that we can find a way to adopt our communities in a wholesome way to bridge this gospel message of wholesomeness in families, so that we can challenge dads, black dads, I should say, and their sons from not missing in action, but taking responsibility for your offsprings. I'm actually thinking of an idea of just gathering all the men and all the boys together in a setting and hold all of us accountable to sign off on a petition that I will promise to be a good dad, responsible, help raise my kid from this day forward.
Sounds good.
Now, we are a minority when it comes to
Right.
that kind of discussion, because my dad abandoned me. So I had to be raised with my own premonition of what life means that caused me to make some bad decisions in my life.
Right. Well, as I listen to you talk about this, you mentioned on your website about gospel journalism. You and I were in seminary together. We talk about missional living, all of that stuff. How does the gospel address all that we're talking about? Is the gospel relevant to what we're talking about? So someone may be watching, listening to us, and they're wondering, man, is there any hope? How's the gospel relevant? The good news, gospel journalism.
Yeah.
How's that relevant to what we're talking about?
Well, the gospel journalism is the life that we portray to humanity. Sadly, we think it's only in the church setting that we can demonstrate the gospel or holiness.
Now, the church setting you're talking about is more or less the building.
The building, the man-made church. Outside of those walls is where we portray the gospel.
Right.
And I always tell people, it's not so much what you say, it's how you live.
Right.
preach the word, use words if necessary.
Yes.
Yes.
Remember that.
You remember that one, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to say this if I can. The gospel today is, first of all, man is searching for his origin, he's searching for his meaning, and then he's searching for his end. And we do funerals, as you know, and there is an end.
Right.
It's the in-between that seems to confuse humanity from all walks of life, from all nations, as to what this gospel means to us. Even the people that Jesus came to in Israel, who you would observe today, is still preserved from Christ's experience in that region, yet they deny his validity.
Right.
Let me say this much. There is 3 points I want to make before I go. Jesus Christ, nobody denies that he came to this earth. Oh, come on now. No one denies that Jesus walked this earth. The atheist knows it. The Hindus knows it. The Muslims know it.
Yes.
Those who will deny knows that Jesus is a fact of life. History proves it. Number one. Number two is this. No one will deny that Jesus died.
Right.
Absolutely not. Jesus came to this world 2,000 years ago. History books proves it. The atheist believes it. Islam knows it. Hindu knows it, that Jesus died.
Right.
So the only thing that mankind needs to pay attention to is this. Did Jesus rise from the grave?
Right.
And if that's the case, is he the Messiah? That's the crux of the matter. And I have to live out that faith, right? To show evidence, as Hebrews 12 tells me, right? Faith is the evidence of things hoped for. I have to show that hope in the evidence of my life that is successful in the midst of the storm and the suffering and the violence and the evil, and my neighbors are hurting and my young boys are hurting each other. In the midst of all of that, how do I bring peace and hope in that journal conversation, in the way I model my life, not just for myself, but to my family, to my neighbors, to the one on the streets, to my co-workers, to my schoolmates.
Thank you. You just present the gospel in a nutshell, and we really appreciate that. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Blessings upon you in your ministry.
Thank you.
I'd like for you to stick around with us. We have a segment coming up that we'd like for you to be part of. It's called Meet the Pastor. If you're looking for a church home, we'd like to share something with you. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
TV programs, convocations, conventions, graduations, YouTube commercials. Pinewood Films is a locally owned production company based in Toronto, and we're here to help you capture your event on video. It could be a Saturday or Sunday morning church service, a banquet, a business function, birthday party, even that special wedding day. Absolutely no project is too small or too large. We record and edit all of our footage professionally with high-quality HD and 4K cameras that can be used for TV broadcasting or just home viewing. The choice is all up to you. So, what are you waiting for? Call us right now at 647-933-8068, and there's no obligation. Let's talk about your ideas for your next event or project. The number is on the screen. We're waiting for your call.
Your wedding day will be one of the most important days in your life, and we want to make sure that you never forget it. Hello, and welcome to Runway Weddings. At Runway Weddings, creating is our passion, and we would love to capture your unique day so you can look back years from now and enjoy it all over again. We are proud of our team of photographers and cinematographers, all of whom have the expertise to create high-energy still and motion pictures that tell a story from beginning to end, based on the love story that has been created by the two of you. With our superior collection of cinematic 4K cameras, movie quality sound, and visual equipment, we are ready to capture your wedding day from every angle to create an artistic blend of photographic, cinematic, and documentary style film that reflects the intimacy of your special day. For more information or to obtain a quote for your big day, call right now 647-933-8068 or go to the website www.runwayweddings.ca and we will schedule a free consultation. We take the time to get to know you so that we can create an experience of photography and cinematography that you will never forget. Call us now.
Today at Meet the Pastor, we have Pastor Stephen Wright from the West End Worship Center. is the youth pastor at the West End Worship Center. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
Yes.
So you're the youth pastor at the West End Worship Center. One of the reasons why we're doing this segment is to get people to understand where churches are, what our churches offer. So our young people coming to the West End Worship Center, what can they look forward to when they attend?
Well, with our church, we do have obviously different elements as every other church does. But within our youth ministry, we gather together every Friday night. We have different activities that we do. Mostly, we primarily focus on teaching of the scripture, but also an element where we can grow together with small groups, but we make it fun. We make it a place where our young people want to come, want to fellowship, want to connect, and also want to know more of God. And that's kind of where our heart is right now.
Right. What are some of the topics that you would deal with in these sessions?
We've dealt with various topics, everything scripturally based, but is primarily geared towards those who are high school age. So we've done series such as series of wrestling with, hey, what happens when I feel that God hasn't answered my prayer? Different topics such as just the basics of scripture, like, you know, how to study the Bible, what's the difference between a disciple and a pupil, things of that sort. Actually, right now, as of this taping, we're going through a series called Him and Her. We talk about relationships with dating and sexuality, sexual integrity, and temptation, and how we as young Christians can walk out sexual integrity in a very sexualized generation. So those are some of the topics they can expect when they come out.
Now that's very good, because on a typical Sunday morning, our young people never hear stuff like that.
No.
I'm sure that your attendance must go through the roof when you talk about stuff like that.
Or attendance, you know, increases a little bit when it is a topic that is engaging. That's my heart. My heart is always to ensure that we are engaging our young people with very relevant topics. And that's my heart every single week. I want to ensure that a young person can come in and be able to say, okay, this is a topic about prayer, but what does it mean to me as a 14-year-old? Somebody who is just starting to grow in the faith, and I don't have a disciplined prayer life. How can I learn how to do that? And our goal as myself as a youth pastor and with our leaders is to encourage and also resource our young people so that they can walk away with the tools in order to implement a practical Christian life.
Well, that sounds really good. What about the older youth in the congregation?
Well, we do have older youth who would be considered young adults, or the next gen, those who are in high school, college, college or university and above, or our young professionals. Right now, we're about to implement a ministry where we can have a gathering of fellowship with our young adults. Within Church God of Prophecy, there's a focus of wanting to get our young adults together, growing in God, but also mobilized for ministry. And we have done a few things on a smaller front in the past, and our goal is within the next year to see that fully flourished in 2017.
Well, Pastor Stephen Wright, it's been great talking to you and great having you on Let's Talk, and I hope that you'll keep up the good work. And for our viewers who would like to find a church home, especially our young people, West End Worship Center is the place. Thank you for joining us in Let's Talk. That's all the time we have for today. Let's keep talking.